Hello, and welcome to yet another Darksiders 3 reaction video. This video is going to be split into two parts. There is the non-spoiler version, which is going to be just over 1 minute 37 seconds long, because the latest trailer has come out, which is the horse with no name, which is going to introduce us to the horse, I'm assuming. That's what the thumbnail is. I actually know a little bit about this, but I will cover that in the next part of the video. So the first part is going to be a couple of minutes of me watching this trailer. I have not seen this trailer. I saw the thumbnail in the car, actually, on the way back from work. So I'm going to watch this, react to this, see what it's like, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about some early streamer slash YouTuber stuff that has come out about the game. So skip to the timestamp on the screen now if you want to see that, and there'll be a spoiler warning and stuff when I switch to that section as well. So if you want to not spoil anything that happens at the start of the game, there will be a proper spoiler warning saying, you know, thanks for watching, but turn off now if you don't want anything spoiled. So let's have a look-see at the horse with no name. Of course, the horse does have a name. I know what the horse's name is. Any of you that follow me on Twitter, and if you don't, follow me on Twitter, will know that I know the horse's name, but that's about as much as I know so far.
Rated M for mature.
That's me. I am mature. Bit of Western music. So here's Fury and her horse. Very Western feel. Lots of oh, they love each other. So we're getting a sense of the boredom that Fury feels. She's going round and round and round. No wonder she's impatient. She wants to get out there and do something. That's why. Tumbleweed. Yeah, you can see it, the slight slumping of her shoulders as that progresses. It's just like. And look how deep those fingers are. She's been here a long time waiting. Waiting. The wait is over. Yeah, so, horse with no name. The horse does have a name, and you are actually introduced to that name in, I believe, this cutscene. This little bit here is actually taken from the intro sequence to the game. Just after the intro that we've watched, there is another cutscene in-engine. I don't know whether it's pre-rendered in-engine, but it is in-engine when you're introduced to this particular scenario. But that just expands on it a little bit, that she has been going through the motions, riding around in circles, digging her nails in frustration into the wall, hoping for something to come around, for something to happen. We saw from the intro sequence that she is impatient, that she wants to be out fighting. She is furious, she is angry, she wants things to do. I've seen quite a few people on Twitter and in YouTube comments actually saying that, you know, she's a typical edgelord, she's a real bitch. I am not entirely sure that I agree with that, but I can see where those people are coming from. But I'm not entirely sure that's a bad thing anyway, the fact that she is edgy. I mean, war and death are kind of edgy as well. And Fury, as she says, she's not a particularly delicate flower. She is fierce, she is furious. As the saying goes, hell hath no fury. like a woman scorned. And she has been scorned here. She's been left out on her own with nothing to do. There's the implication that if the council want things done, they call on war or they call on death. And as we're going to find out in a bit, Strife is already out doing something. So we'll get onto that in a second. So that's a nice introduction for those people who were saying, "Oh, we haven't seen the horse. Where's the horse?" I'm still fairly certain that the horse isn't going to have a huge amount of use in the game, because I don't think there's many big overworld open areas to explore. I might be wrong. I hope for the sake of people that really care about the horse riding mechanics that I'm wrong. But realistically, I didn't use Ruin and I didn't use Despair all that often in Darksiders 1 and 2. I used him more in 2 because it was a massive map that needed exploring. But as I've said in past videos, from Darksiders 3, I'm really getting a Metroid sense where a lot of the game is going to be delving down into the bowels of the earth and collecting things and trying to find our way through passages. And as Death would say, that is no place for a horse. So we'll see. We will see. We're now going to cut to some other footage from the opening of the game. So this is your spoiler warning. Welcome back to the spoiler warning section. I've deliberately got this on here so that spoilers haven't passed you by. You'll recognise this. This is the intro that we looked at in a previous video, and it's exactly the same in-game as it is in the YouTube video that we've watched. But there is more that I want to look at in this. After all of this jazz, inconceivable power, one thing that I forgot to mention that a couple of people called me out on in the YouTube comments is that it is not the Charred Council that are narrating this at the start. It is the Lord of the Hollows, who is a new character for this game, which we don't know a huge amount about yet, but I'm assuming we will do reasonably soon, reasonably early on in the game, because it is from him whom we get our Flame Hollow. So I'm just going to skip through this bit. This is fairly available on YouTube now. There are a few people that have released this particular part of the game. They've got early deals with THQ Nordic to take a look at it. I am just going to be focusing on two particular cutscenes that I'd like to talk about, and if you haven't seen these already, this is going to be a pretty crap way of watching them, because I am not going to just watch them through. I'm going to stop and start and talk all over them as and when I feel the need to. So,
your brothers understand the undertaking set before them, but do you?
Still talking? Shall I have
tea, please.
tea, or can we get on with it?
Yes, yes we can.
Fury, your role in this story is yet to be written. I wonder.
Yeah, the quality of this is going to be ever so slightly lower, just because I've had to re-render it. Love that frame. Okay, so this is the scene that I was talking about in the horsey bit. This is the plains of wherever Fury has been for however long she's been there. The implication is that she's been there really quite a long time, just kicking her heels, just with nothing to do. We kind of get the idea that the council hasn't sent her anywhere for any reason, or maybe she's not. They've sent none of the horsemen anywhere for any reason, because there's been nothing to do, as we will see in a bit. So we get this nice, serene, peaceful start with us sitting on a...
Dreams more thrilling than reality.
So her idea is that this wonderful pact that she has made with the Charred Council, the idea of her dreams of ambition, her dreams of glory, the reality of the situation is that she's been doing not much of anything.
Had I known the new pact would be so exciting, I would have let war separate my head from my neck then and...
So the new pact is what was referred to in the intro. So the pact that these four have made with the Charred Council for the power of the horsemen to keep the balance and for wiping out the Nephilim, the rest of their brothers and sisters. The implication here is that that event, the war with the Nephilim, has finished, and the aftermath hasn't been all excitement and glory as Fury had hoped. So if she'd known the new pact would be so exciting, she's very sarcastic, which is one of the reasons I think why I like her. She's not super happy, and she says she'd have let war separate her head from her neck. So she's prone to exaggeration, to say the least.
There. Is it possible to die of boredom?
No, it's not. But she's bored. And here we get our first look at her horse. Rampage. So war has ruin. Death has despair. So war brings ruin with him. Death brings despair in his wake. And fury, rampage follows fury. Rampage is the natural result of a furious person. They go on a rampage. And I really like the design of Fury's horse. It's very, very similar to Death's and War's. Maybe ever so slightly less bulky than Ruin. Obviously a bit more fleshed out than Despair, because Despair is skeletal. But we've got these lovely kind of lightning streaks down the side. The same symbol on the saddle that she's going to get on an amulet, which everybody's seen in the trailers. And this symbol here, I've no idea what this symbol is for. I'm assuming we'll find out at some point. But I like the colours. The blue is quite electric and in your face, just like a lightning bolt. She's got a little gem on the front as well, to really add some contrast to the black.
Bored as I am, perhaps you're just lazy.
But you can hear from the way that she's talking to Ruin that there's a real kind of affectionate bond there. She doesn't like much else in the world, but she likes her horse.
If I didn't love you so much, I'd kill you just for something to do.
We recognise that sound. So she's so bored that she'd even consider killing her horse if she didn't love him so much. And there is a tenderness to her voice there that really does make you feel like, yes, she can connect with people. She may be angry and bored and frustrated, but a horse is her anchor. It's the one thing that is grounding her, which is why if the horse isn't in the game as much as I think a lot of people suspect, including perhaps me, that's going to maybe make her more agitated and edgy than maybe she would otherwise be. But again, I haven't seen that far ahead in the game, so if there is a reason why she can't rampage as much as maybe a lot of players want.
The call?
The call!
Finally.
Finally. So that is the same horn sound effect, at least I'm assuming it's the same horn sound effect as we got for War right in the prologue of Darksiders 1. And you can see the smile on her face and her eyes widen and light up as she finally gets to go and do something. But that's not the end of the cutscene. There's a good chunk more yet. She's got that little smirk on her face, and immediately you can see War chained up.
Please, please tell me you're a planet of demons that needs slaying. Or two. War. What pathetic fate have you brought upon yourself, brother?
So, two things there. First of all, when she says war, there's a little bit of concern in her voice. Just a little bit. Maybe it's caught her off guard. So maybe a lot of this kind of brash, impatient facade is just that. It is a facade. She's putting on a lot of bravado, a lot of show. And she is actually concerned for her brother. But then she digs in and says, what pathetic fate have you brought upon yourself? So she knows that he has done something, otherwise he wouldn't be here.
Watch your tongue.
And War, of course, being stoic and gruff, he tells her to watch out.
I may be least favored of all the horsemen, but my tongue never found me chained to a rock like some dog.
So there's a real animosity between the two here. You know, she says that she's the least favoured of the horsemen, which I think is we can say is very much true. War, strife, and death probably get sent out to do more. Fury, not so much. And if you've read the comics and the Abomination Vault novel, you know that is very much the case. But she is antagonistic towards War. And then she gets cut off by the Shard Council saying, this way.
Fury, approach us.
I take it there is a mess that needs tending to.
I get the idea that Fury is not very good at dealing with authority figures. She is the kind of in-your-face, sardonic, kind of impatient... I don't want to say ADHD, but the kind of hyperactive teenager-style archetype, in a sense. The Child Council says to this accusation that there's a mess that needs cleaning up, that she is their dog's body, I suppose. Though she jests, you speak true.
Though you jest, you speak true. War has broken his vows to this.
And you can see just the little smile on her face dropping when she hears War has broken his vows to the council. Disbelief? Maybe the idea that War, who has always been a very faithful, apart from one time, which is when he gets his hand cut off, when Fury and Death have to go after him in one of the comics. Maybe she doesn't quite believe that he hasn't learned his lesson.
Council and shattered the seventh seal.
The apocalypse.
Why would he...
And again, just that note of concern in her voice. That's not excitement. That's concern. The apocalypse. That's not the kind of bravado that we've seen from some of the trailers. It's like, the apocalypse has started without me. I want to get involved. That's honest to the creator. Concern. Why would he? She doesn't quite understand what is going on here, and neither does the Child Council. But if we played Darksiders 1, we know the Child Council is lying here, because they know exactly what is going on. They know why War was called to Earth. They know the situation.
We know not yet. As we speak, Earth falls beneath the spears of heaven and the hammers of hell.
So the apocalypse has barely begun. Angels and demons are now invading. So that 100-year gap that War is away, there's the implication here that War is fresh from being resurrected after being crushed into oblivion by Straga in the prologue of Darksiders 1. He's been pulled out of that. He's been chained up in front of the council. They are trying to decide what to do. Maybe they need a plan, a plausible deniability, because they do, because of what they've been doing. And angels and demons, the spears of heaven, the hammers of hell, are setting about each other on Earth. And that conflict has not really been going for very long. We don't know how long this kind of teleportation call transportation thing works. The timeline is a little bit hazy on that kind of stuff. I think it uses what we in the writing business call dramatic time. So it takes as long as it needs to for the plot. which is a massive conceit. But sometimes things don't quite line up realistically, and you've just got to make things fit in, especially when you're dealing with a sequel to a game from 8 years ago now, where that story was written and you're fitting other things in after the fact.
So the horsemen are to ride.
So her initial thought is, war's here, she's here, the apocalypse has happened, it's time.
No. While the Charred Council seeks to understand how and why the traitor war has committed this abominable...
So they're putting on a show for Fury here. The council seeks to understand how and why the traitor war, not just war, the traitor war, they're very specific about dropping that word in. They're also very specific about dropping abominable act in. Again, hyping Fury up because they know this is the kind of thing that she will latch onto personality-wise. But the horsemen aren't going to ride because the council seeks to understand how and why. Now, unless they're retconning something, they know how and why. They don't need to spend time on figuring out how and why. They need to spend time thinking up, well, how are we going to spin this? What are we going to do?
There is a matter that requires delicate attention.
And I love that pause there. A matter that requires delicate attention. Almost like they know that realistically, Fury is not the person for this job. And that arguably, if it weren't for the fact, for what we're going to find out in a couple of seconds' time, she would probably not have been their first choice.
You should have called Strife. He's the delicate one.
A little bit of insight into Strife. We got a little bit of insight into Strife in the bigger intro cutscene, but we get Fury's opinion on Strife here, that he is the delicate one. He's the ranged DPS. You've got War, who is the tank. You've got Fury, who is the mage. You've got Death, who's the kind of rogue or melee deeps. And Strife is the range. He's the archer. He's the range support. And in a lot of fantasy literature, the elf with the bow is delicate and dainty, and clearly they're playing with that archetype here. But also there's that kind of wit and sarcasm in her voice. It's affectionate. It's not like, oh, I hate him. There is a kinship between them. They have made this new pact together. But she doesn't necessarily feel like they are on the same level as she is.
The 7 deadly sins have been released. By whom
we know this, and we've seen this from other cutscenes. Free of our prison. By whom we can't say. So somebody has released them. They haven't broken free. Something or somebody has released them. My money is probably on the Destroyer. But I don't think that makes sense. It might also be that Abraxas guy that we've mentioned, that we heard mentioned in the trophy list.
The balance between order and chaos is already in.
So heaven and hell already screwing things up. The 7 sins will mess things up even further.
War is in chains. Death is missing. Strife attends to other matters.
Okay. People have had concerns and questions about this. War is in chains. That's fair enough. He's there. We can see him. Death is missing. Now, if we play Darksiders 2, we know that Death isn't missing. The Charred Council knows that Death isn't missing. So unless this happens before Death comes to the Charred Council to bargain for War's release, in which case, nobody knows where Death is, and he will arrive, and then he'll find War in Chains, and then he'll bargain for bringing back humanity. Maybe that happens after this. We don't know. I don't know. Hopefully we'll find out in the game. Otherwise, Death is not missing. Death has already gone out, set off on his quest. A lot of people might say, is that a plot hole? No, not really. It's not a plot hole. It's not a retcon. We just don't know exactly where in the timeline this links up from the start of the game. Strife attends to other matters. So once again, Strife, we don't know what he's doing. We don't. But the idea that he is attending to other matters leads us to believe that he is somewhere. He is doing something, and the council know that he's doing something. So it's my opinion that the crew at Gunfire do know what Strife is up to now. They've planned what Strife is up to. They know where he is, what he's doing, and that will be, obviously, Darksiders 4. The last time you faced the Sins, it required all 4 of you. So the last time, whenever that was, and that's not mentioned as far as I know in any of the media, comic book, novel, etc., etc. This is new information that they have faced off against the Sins before, and I'm assuming imprisoned them. But at what point in time? Again, we don't know. Was it before the comic book set in the 1700s? Was it after? Not a clue.
The last time you faced the Sins, it required all 4 of you.
I can handle those fools in my
sleep. So she's got a lot of contempt, overconfidence. Some people might argue that she's a little bit all over the place, character-wise. And again, that may be true, but I think now that we're seeing more of her personality in longer cutscenes, we are starting to get a feel for what she's like.
But when this task is complete, I demand that you grant me my rightful place leading the horsemen.
And that's that confidence and ambition and her feeling that she is better than the others, that she has been scorned, that she has been hard done by, and that she should be taking her rightful place because she is answering the call. She is where she needs to be. As far as she's concerned, War has started the apocalypse without her. He's a traitor. Death is missing. Strife is a dainty flower, delicate, who's off doing something else. She is the one that deserves to lead the horsemen.
If you would trade obedience for a title, so be it.
So that's a slightly weird phrasing, but the idea is that if she is obedience, that is the trade that she's making. For her obedience, she will get nothing more than a title. The implication there is that the leadership of the horsemen doesn't make any difference because at the end of the day, they just have to do what the Charred Council tell them. There is no leader amongst them.
But never make a demand upon us.
They're not very happy.
You depart immediately.
And off she goes. But
Greetings, Miss Fury.
Miss
I must
Fury.
admit, this is a fortuitous fate.
Nice alliteration there.
Watcher, you doubt my allegiance?
She's immediately annoyed with this idea that, oh, there's a Watcher here. It must mean that you think I'm not up to the task. But the Watcher is quite good with words.
Please, be not cross. I am such an admirer. Scratch that. I'm a fan. You are the horseman. The only one that
matters. So immediately recognising that Fury is no, don't want one of those. You're doubting me. She's buttering her up with some sweet honeyed words. I'm an admirer. I'm a fan. She's got this very languid tone, this very appreciative tone to her. And yeah, you are the horseman, the only one that matters. Talk about appealing to Fury's ego. And my word, does Fury have an ego?
Enough! I will allow you to accompany me. Just stay out of my way.
I will allow you. Yeah, she's already starting to...
I will be as unto a shadow, steadfast, silent.
More silence!
Go! Seek out the place called Haven. Your quest.
This is the bit where the quest for the Seven Deadly. Okay, so we've got our mission. We've got our watcher, our guide, our advisor. We've got a little bit more information about the Charred Council and where the other horsemen are, but it's still not over.
Fury, wait. Whatever has passed between us.
Whatever has passed between us, search your heart. Now, I have no idea what this is referring to. The only real altercation I can think of between War and Fury in the media so far is the fact that isn't it Fury who whips War's arm and then Death chops it off in the first graphic comic. The implication here is maybe something else has passed between them? Feelings of some sort? Don't know, but interesting to speculate on.
Search your heart. You cannot believe I am guilty of these crimes. Something is wrong with the universe.
Can't believe that I'm guilty of these crimes. We've already seen certain seeds of doubt in Fury's mind that why would War do this? War wouldn't go against the law. War is all about the law. Something is wrong with the universe. Now, if this is possibly a tie-in to Death, the idea of Death's quest and him finding out about the corruption that's spreading, War doesn't know about that. But Death is maybe in the process of finding out, or maybe will soon be in the process of finding out. But War knows that something is up. And of course we know, if you've played the first game, exactly what is up with at least the things that going on Earth.
Be vigilant, Fury. Forces conspire against us. Heed my word.
Forces conspire against us, and those forces happen to be there in front of him. We know that they are, they didn't cause the apocalypse. That wasn't them. The angels and the demons. Just in case you don't know, Abaddon planned on dragging the leadership of Hell into a trap by sending angels to Earth. He thought it'd be a good battleground. So he broke all the seals, he drew out the demons, but Lilith caught wind of his plan, and rather than it just being the demon leadership that went to Earth to investigate, it was a massive demon army, which is why the apocalypse started. The Charred Council sent War to kind of stop what was going on, but in doing so, stuff went wrong. Abaddon died. Uriel and the Hell Guard got stuck on Earth because the White City refused to have anything to do with them. And the Charred Council, I think there's a mole or a leak somewhere. And the whole plot of the first game is them sending War back to fix the mess that they have inadvertently let happen. Because realistically, they should have stopped Abaddon doing what he did well before it actually happened. Anyway, I think that's right. Doing off the top of my head. So forces conspire against us. And we start off the game. This is what takes us directly into the game with an entrance very similar to War's in Darksiders 1. A bit more graphically intensive and interesting, but there we go. That is the opening of Darksiders 3. Quite a lot there to unpack, so much so in fact that this recording has gone on to 27 minutes. This was only going to be a short video, but as many of my students will tell you, I talk a lot. So hopefully this speculation has been interesting for you. If you agree with me, give it a like, give it a thumbs up. If you don't agree with me, give it a thumbs down and tell me why. But if you don't agree with me because you've seen footage elsewhere of what happens, don't be a dick. Don't spoil it in the comments. I don't know what happens after the first hour and a half or so of the game. And until I play any more any of Darksiders 3 for myself, I will probably be avoiding social media to an extent, unless, you know, the Darksiders YouTube channel posts up another video, in which case, yeah, sure, I'll take a look at that and maybe react to it depending on what it's about. But yeah, don't be a dick in the comments. Nobody wants that, especially not people that don't want the game spoiled for them. So yeah, drop me a like, consider subscribing if you haven't done so already. I will be doing a complete playthrough of Darksiders 3 starting Tuesday night, whenever the game releases. It will be on the challenging difficulty, not apocalyptic, but I've heard whispers that the story mode and the normal mode, because it turns out that there are 4 difficulty levels, story and normal are maybe a little bit easy, and I don't need it to be super easy. A bit of a challenge in a Souls-like game will be more than perfect for me, and then I'll play apocalyptic maybe on stream at some point. Hope you've enjoyed the video, hope you found it interesting, and I will catch you all in the next one. Thanks very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit the thumbs up and consider subscribing. Remember to ring the bell to be notified when new videos go live. And until next time, toodle pip.